Welcome to the Nerd Party.
I'm Darren Moser.
I'm Philip Gilfus.
I'm Daniel Prue.
And this is City Alpha 3.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to City Alpha 3, a Star Trek podcast here on the Nerd Party Network. I'm your host, Daniel Prue, and joining me as always, Darren the Dim. And,
wow.
I kid, but Philip and Darren are here. How are you guys doing?
It's just because my name begins with a D, doesn't it, Daniel?
That's all it was.
Well, Daniel, you know what else begins with a D?
I was going to go.
Well, that means, Philip's a gimme?
Yeah. I don't know. We'll get into it, I guess. But how was your week in Star Trek?
Hostage.
Well, I don't know. Has the timeline changed where we call each other names at the beginning of the podcast? Because
it's Mayor Daniel. You can tell.
Mayor Daniel. But
I was replaced. I was killed earlier today and replaced by a meaner version of myself. So.
Well, I have continued my TOS rewatch and knocked out 2 this weekend. So, and I think I'm almost at the end of the first season. Seasons never end in a good way, I suppose. But I finished watching the most popular episode of Star Trek ever, City on the Edge of Forever. It's popular, everyone.
Did you like it?
Yeah,
did you watch the companion episode where they go back to it in the animated series?
No, I'm in order.
Oh, okay.
I'll get to it.
Because there's one where they go back to the Guardian's planet.
Guardian of Forever. Oh, yes. That's right. Spock.
We learn a lot about Spock, which we will eventually relearn.
The best episode of animated
in Discovery. So.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so Michael Burnham was in that episode?
The
animated series? Is that what you're saying?
She was sleeping in the...
Yeah.
Okay.
Just in the other room. We just didn't see her or hear her or know of her.
Well, my other sort of toy news, whatever, is I got my transporter set.
Yeah, I saw the pictures.
Triple Fiction Productions. So I added some gear for Dr. Crusher on the transporter pad, so she can now go down on an away mission with O'Brien at the controls.
Does he make the 3-cylindered test the test beaming item? It comes back all mashed and melted into the floor.
They do sell the test cylinders at Triple Fiction Productions.
So if it was Chief O'Brien, then that must mean it's Transporter Room 3, because I hear that's his favorite transporter room.
It's just a transporter room, Daniel. It's so now you need some pattern buffers or pattern enhancers to take down and put around your away team.
Cool. What about you, Darren? Anything exciting going
and
on
a fish tank. You could make Cetacean Ops right next to it. Got to make it happen, Philip. You got to live our dreams. No, but it's been a pretty quiet week. Just ready to. This was on my list to watch anyway, so I'm glad we're discussing today's episodes.
That's right. With the continued degradation of society and destruction of everything, we decided to watch the 2-part episode Past Tense from Space Nine Season 3. And kind of was a bad idea because it makes me sad. I'm sad now. And no, it's interesting. It's really, really interesting, in fact. It's a neat kind of time capsule into what I guess maybe the fears of people in the 90s were, and kind of how much maybe they hit on the nail on the head, and then maybe where they missed. But what do you guys think of that? Just in general, like before we,
I think it just proves that Star Trek is always timely. It maybe just hasn't happened yet, because I was reading a bit about, because obviously this is Ira Stephen Bear written all over it, and I'm gonna make my show and tell the stories I want no matter what. But yeah, that people, when it initially aired in the 90s, were, kind of gave it a little, I mean, people liked it, but there was also pushback of, oh, it's too preachy or this or that. And it's like, Don't worry, Ira. It'll be recognized for the predictive measure that it is eventually.
Yeah, that was an interesting bit, especially coming off the last season of Doctor Who about, preachy episodes. And, I mean, I don't think this is... I mean, there are moments when characters espouse stuff where you could be like, oh, but it doesn't come across that way. But I guess what struck me is 2024, 4 years away. So, and I don't know who the governor of California is at that time, Darren, but, bad news for you.
Yeah, Darren, can't you just give these people jobs, man? That's all they want.
Yeah. No. See, Darren's having his cocktail parties, talking about his skiing trips.
Our undersea oil.
Does.
Hey, look, I'm just ready for mid-90s fashion to come back into fashion in the 2024, because Jadzia was rocking it in that blazer, and it was her tattoos were really back in style.
Brooch,
her internet access, basically.
Net.
Yeah, I don't think they even called it net. They called it network or something like that.
Network interface.
Yeah, access to the net. It was like the network.
Interface, I think.
Because I know they didn't say. Yeah, but it was
Internet.
It was basically
Copyright.
Basically that.
Trademark.
So that's an interesting place to start, and why not just for funsies? We'll start with the differences between. Well, actually, just to set it up for everybody in case they haven't seen this episode in a while or not seen it at all, the what you'd call, I guess, the structure of the episode is not important. They don't pay a lot of attention.
The vehicle device to create the problem is the biggest chunk of technobabble I've heard in quite a while. But
I always like it when they just casually be like, oh, some chrono particles.
Oh, those big chronoton particles, always messing with us.
So I'm sure there's nothing involving time travel if chrono particles have been building up.
You should have gone through the chronobarian sweep.
Yeah, where's that chronobarian sweep? We need that.
They would have avoided that. But basically, there's just a freak transporter access. So, actually, before even that, they go to Earth for some sort of
symposium. It's always a symposium, Daniel, in Federation. It's
the conversation that they have specifically about the Admiral very much give me flashbacks to the TNG episode
Starship Mine.
Starship Mine, yeah.
Talking and actually, no, sorry, that's not Starship Mine.
No, that's
I'm thinking of the other one where they're in the runabout going
that's the commander.
to
what is it called?
You can call me.
Oh man, yeah. Anyways, that one.
Well, no, we're mixing them together because Hutch was in Starship Mine. Yeah, but then Picard talking about the unbroken sentence was when
that was in
yeah. No, I was.
It's the one with the variable time field where his was it
the Romulan
disaster? No, not disaster.
No. Anyway, we don't know.
It doesn't matter. Not important. Anyways, so basically just a free.
Nobody likes symposiums. That's what we're saying. It's a given.
They're at Earth and they're just beaming down.
Timescape.
Beaming. Yeah. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just beaming,
so
like every day.
Just beaming.
That shouldn't be a problem.
Beaming, and freak accident. They travel back to 2024, and it's O'Brien. Sorry, not O'Brien. It's Sisko and Bashir and Jadzia, and they get mildly separated, and they go very different paths. And they're transported down to San Francisco in what is known as a sanctuary district.
I was born there.
and then chaos ensues, and we'll get into it. But so Jadzia ends up. I kind of was in my mind, just because now where we are in the world, I kind of kept thinking Zuckerberg and like
if Mark Zuckerberg or some daytime talk show
Steve Jobs
guy.
Steve Jobs, but this is actually just got to be a Bill Gates type, because this was before all those others. This was before like what we would.
Oh, I see.
You know,
what did they model him after?
Yeah,
in the 90s. That's but he's like the head of a news network, so it was some sort of conglomerate.
Networking.
Channel 90.
No,
Channel 90. It's Chris. Don't you remember him, Daniel?
oh, that Chris.
I mean, granted, I'll just say this up front. Jadzia handles being stuck out of time like a champ. I mean, she doesn't let anything on. I have a feeling that part of that's like the Dax symbiont, having lived through so much time. You just kind of like go, oh, I'm just gonna, my jewelry, and I need to find my friends, and she just plays it so smooth.
Yeah, so she ends up with the rich guy,
Yep.
and having fancy rich people parties, and Sisko and Bashir end up having a bit of a rougher time.
They get thrown in the sanctuary district.
Yeah, because they are poor. Well, they have no money.
Well, they have no ID. That was the big thing.
And no ID.
That's the same thing.
The ID is important. I think the ID is the important thing. And
because that's the thing is they don't beam into the sanctuary district. They show up just in San Francisco, but because they got looted before they come to, they get thrown in. They have no ID and no identification. I mean, they wouldn't have had it anyway, but they were sleeping. That's the first offense. They were sleeping out in public during the day.
Yeah, they were homeless.
Yeah, basically.
In San
they were
Francisco.
appearing homeless,
I mean, there's so much to go through. Because, I mean, I don't think it's necessarily purposely done this way, but maybe it is. What do I know? That I was watching it, the whole episode, not just when they get separated part. But I did have two distinct thoughts, and you can put them together. But one is, Jadzia getting helped by Chris, and he's just giving her everything. Here's hotel, here's my internet.
She's a charmer.
Well, so it helps to be a pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's if he had stumbled upon Ben or Julian, what would have happened? But then I also, when I was watching it, I always thought, because again, this is the 21st century, early 21st century eyes, that you have two men of color, sort of, navigating this world. And so it was just sort of how they were being treated, and nothing was overt, but it often isn't. And so I was just thinking about that.
Well, and another thing I love about this episode, again, I'd have to look up their names, but I love the character actors we get. The actor who plays Webb, the father who kind of becomes the symbol for the resistance, and the lead guard, who I think just passed very recently.
I want to say yes.
The actor who played that just passed. But, I mean, everybody, even Ronnie Howard's brother, Cliff Howard, who shows up in part 2 randomly for half a second. But,
because two things. One, with the Weber, my wife did start singing Abadi, Abada, Abada. And as far as Howard, because I vaguely recalled he was in it, but watching it again, you could cut out that entire scene. Would not change one
That's
thing.
true.
Does he just have like a contract that says he has to be in Star Trek every 3.5 years?
That's a good
something?
point. I mean, if she hadn't lost her comm badge, there's really no reason to add that. Although I mean, I could see why they kept it, because it's to show someone with mental illness and how they're. I mean, it's a direct commentary, and then kind of almost the breaking the fourth wall joke of, well, she is an alien. Like, she didn't lie during anything she said to him.
Because I guess the one thing I thought, and again, I'm not trying to be over about this, but like, because they had talked about earlier with Julian saying, these people have mental illness, easily done. But I think that scene is supposed to be a comic relief. Haha.
Yeah,
you think he's invisible and aliens, and I'm like, well, it's not funny.
That's true. It was a little. And the way they were reacting to him, they're kind of looking at each other like, "Oh, this guy," and it's like, "Yeah, he needs help." But
so I did think, in as much as they're trying to play it for laughs, there would have to be some elaborate thing. He's just like, "Oh no, here you go."
Yeah, no,
I was like,
no.
That was a shorter mission than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. I do think it was important that they showed that. Not specifically that, but I think that's what their goal was, to just show the people of mental illness. I want to talk specifically about the sanctuary districts, how they work, and if we think that that would be something that we could possibly see. Obviously, it's horrific and dystopian and terrible. I mean, but not too far out from reality of what we've seen.
It's uncomfortably close.
Yeah. So it's stated that the sanctuary district are for people who just have no means. They don't have a job. They don't have a place to live. And they don't have any way to, sustain themselves. They can't. There's no food or anything like that. So it's specifically stated that criminals are not allowed inside the sanctuary district. So you go there to get help, but then you become trapped and there's no way to leave. The system traps you inside this district.
Right. They promise job placement and things like that, which doesn't happen, and then they feed you, but they're way... I mean, you get the feeling like this sanctuary district was built for like 5,000 people, and they cram 10,000 people in there, and it's not sustainable.
Yeah, so it was, and it kind of came out to, like, as I was watching through the episode, I was like, okay, I could kind of see maybe where somebody along the line thought, like there's a tremendous homeless problem in the area or whatever.
Let's just put them all in this block, and then the only difference is they built a wall. Like, that's really the only difference, is they walled it off.
And we'll talk about the upper class's response to the district later. But I'm wondering, like, can you see at least parallels in real life or possible sort of situations where somebody somewhere might think this is a good idea, and we should be like, hey, watch this episode. Don't do that. It's terrible.
Well, and again, not to make it like real, but I think it's interesting that they chose San Francisco, and probably they just were like, Star Trek, that's the city we always use. Like, it has to be in America. I mean, and
the fact that they beamed to San Francisco, that's where they were beaming. They just beamed to a different time.
That's true. You're right. But you're right, Darren. That's probably why. But I just thought it's interesting now, and I don't think this would have been the point then. And Darren, you can probably speak to this better than me, but San Francisco has outpriced itself for housing.
Yeah.
Like, it is probably one of the most expensive places to live.
We say then, this was January 95. So that's what, 15 years ago? Jeez.
No, it's 25 years
ago.
Yeah,
that's right again.
25 years ago.
Oh, gosh, you're right. Oh, time math. No. I hate you. So 25 years ago. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, we're in this broad strokes, we're in this situation where you have a combining of factors of wages not increasing along the past several decades, coupled with, just population increasing. And so you basically just have too many people that need to work in the same place but can't, and they can't live there, and they can't afford to live there, and they can't afford to work there. And it's just, do I see it eventually maybe collapsing and causing something like this? It's definitely possible. I mean, we just, in our own time here in 2020, we've had a massive, influx of not, I was gonna say homelessness, but of unemployed, economic yes. turmoil. And yeah, I definitely, again, like I said, Star Trek's relevant always. It just maybe isn't quite there yet. It just took 25 years for it to become even more relevant. Because
I know, I was waiting, and again, and I'm not trying to make fun of any of this, but I was almost waiting for them to say, like, yeah, this is the post-virus period, again, with that high unemployment. And then you can argue, where I was going with San Francisco is that you could argue where it would start with a good idea. Because, again, San Francisco, highly priced out. So then the thought is, okay, well, let's make a portion of the city
rent controlled and all that stuff. And
so public housing. And so, which is a great idea, but then it kind of turns into, because it's almost a very socialist area, right? You go there, you just live in any house you want to.
We need more people. We don't have enough room, and then they put a wall up, and now they construct it in the story in a way where you can tell, like, this wasn't just a bad idea.
Don't.
It just it dominoed into this situation, and that's what makes it even scarier, because it could happen.
Because apparently in 2024 the economy is not doing great.
I'm
not
shocked.
only in the Sanctuary District.
Yes.
Yeah. Because not only in Sanctuary District, they're just saying we can't find jobs anyway. Because even the woman whose name I can't remember, who worked there was like, job placement. What can you do?
Right, and Webb, talks about coming out to the city and working, and then half the workforce got let go, and now he can't find a job. And that, how many industries just furloughed like tons of their people recently, and it's just like, oh yeah, and that's not within anyone's control. I mean, within the workers' control.
Especially with the service industry.
What I picked up on too, in terms of the job stuff, and when Sisko was talking to the investigator lady, detective lady, I think he's talking to her about
the detective. Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about the police, the detective. Yeah.
About the governor's response,
right.
And he's like, get these people jobs, and I'm pretty sure she's the one that goes, there are no jobs, like there's just no jobs,
right.
And that's the type of situation where you're like, okay, I can see then this sanctuary district thing becoming a thing. Like if there is nothing available, what do you do? It's terrible and horrific and stuff. Obviously, you would never want to do it, but I will say, you could definitely call it a bad idea whenever they built the walls.
Yeah,
but
the thing is, I can see that happening because then you have like a city, like a major metropolitan city that's like, okay, well, we have this issue, but we don't want to look at it. And so we're going to build a wall, and then now we're helping them on the other side of the wall, and then now the people in their towers can rest easy. But that's what the episode does such a good job of, especially at the end when they're all just lined up at the terminal telling their stories, and they're like, these aren't criminals. They're just people that have been rolled a bad hand, and they don't want handouts. They just want to be able to provide for themselves. And in the greatest Star Trek fashion, it humanizes. This whole episode, it's very it's very holding the mirror up to our own faces, like it's
in a mirror darkly.
But which is why I want to watch it.
Well, it's very interesting, the roles. It's it's a good writing. That's what it is. But the roles that everyone plays, it's almost very Law and Order. Dick Wolf has always said, I always want every character to have a different point of view. Like that'd be my dream episode. Yeah. But like you have I can't remember any names. You have the dim, to use the slang, guy. You have Weber, the gimme. So you have those two perspectives, right. And you have the prison guards.
You have
another
the ghost,
perspective. The woman,
BC, who's kind of.
Oh yeah, BC. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say, BC. Yeah. And so you have all those different perspectives about, like the the prison guard just wants to go home to his
right.
family. On one hand, you're like, I can respect that. We all just want to go home at the end of the day. But then, like, well, what about all the people in this district who can't go home? And,
Yeah, and I was reading through some of Memory Alpha, and they were talking about BC, the guy with the hat, basically, who he's... you could say he's the antagonist, but he's really not. He's more of like... If he wasn't there, then everything's under control and everything's fine. But because he's in the room, it's an unstable situation. But he's, they point out, like, even though he kills the original Gabriel Bell, he's never referred to as a murderer or a killer. Like, they purposely construct that this is not the choices he would make if it wasn't for the situation that created this outcome.
So it's really interesting, like what you were saying, Philip, about the different characters having different perspectives. Like every person that's in that room is coming at this from a different angle, and they're all pushing in different directions. And like if you don't have the guy with the hat there, this whole situation wouldn't have escalated in the first place. They would have had their peaceful protest. Yeah. It would have been summarily ignored.
And I liked that. I liked the fact that. Just one small part. Like, I like the fact that they're like, okay, we're ready for the protest. It's going to happen in 2 days. They're like, okay, we're on the path. And then, nope, it's today. And it's all gone sideways. Like, I like that twist of it's not even when you have knowledge of the future, it doesn't, bad things happen.
Yeah. And you're not, and like, you have to have those people with different agendas that are going to, and like they all had to work together. Sisko was obviously trying to keep all the people safe. This guy doesn't care who lives or dies, but he's just basically just anarchy at that point. But they try to control him and rein him in, and they do a good job, and they all serve their purpose. And then you have the respectable dad dude who will give it a public facing, light. And it's all
and the two
really
prison
good.
guards and the processing lady. So yeah, just such. I mean, and well acted. I mean, everybody's got to pull their A game to pull off an episode like this, not just the reoccurring characters.
Yeah, it was interesting.
They can't just phone it in like Quark at the very beginning. But
and there's no answer. But this brings up you watch this episode and you can discuss all day long about this. But like the efficacy of protest methods, because if they just had the peaceful protest, would anything have happened? Right. And then you have sort of in the room where it was happening, this sort of spectrum of protest of peaceful versus taking things up a notch, and they're not going to hear us unless we do something, and then others, and then having the respectable face, hand quotes, that people want to hear from, right. They don't want to hear, which, because, you think about that scene, they don't hear from me, or someone that looks like, the two of us, like, what did Sisko do? Being black. I mean, that's, he wasn't, other than, and so we're going to choose the neighbor, or the white neighbor next door face guy. And
you're the guy next door.
He can be the face of this.
Well, and so you also have, I mean, I really like in the first part of the first episode where basically Sisko's giving Bashir a crash course in 21st century. He's like, it's going to be bad. Like, this is not the time, that we want to be in. It's like us being sent back to like 1968 and we're like, oh, it's that year. Great. But I again, reading some interviews with Ira and some other things on Memory Alpha, they kind of were talking about how this was kind of a transition episode for Bashir, where you kind of have old Bashir before it, where, he's very self-centered, frontier medicine, and all this stuff. And after this, like, I mean,
what you doing, Jadzia?
Yeah, basically. But like after this, Bashir steps up. Like he, even at the end where he's like, I'm staying with you, Sisko. I might die, but it's worth it to accomplish the mission. And I think I love that dialogue they have at the beginning where, and I mean, yes, we obviously can tell Bashir is supposed to be us asking the questions of, oh, how did it get this bad? And, oh, why aren't these people doing this? And blah, blah. But you have to say it. I mean, it literally says it out loud because there's no clearer way to make the point that these are issues we're dealing with, our real society at this time, and that they're not insurmountable. It's just a choice in a way.
Yeah, I think the most powerful scene for me is when Sisko is arguing with security dude. And
I know what you mean, yeah.
And he says to him, you could not just be that way. Like that would be, and he'd be like, what good would that do if I was just nice to everybody and we didn't, and he says it would be a start and it would be something. And that's like addressing the systemic nature of the issue here. And it's like, yeah, you can use it as an excuse, like this is the way things are and it's just the worst. But what can you do? But at least, he's like,
well, and the lady also says that where he goes, it's not your, I think Bashir is talking to her after he's helping her with her insulin or something. And he's like, it's not your fault things the way they are. And she's like, everybody tells themselves that and nothing ever changes. And then to progress the arc of the security guard at the end where Sisko says, do me one thing, like tell people what really happened here. And he's like, I would have done that anyway. You can see he's changed. He's progressed, and maybe that's just the amazing writing. Like all the characters have arcs, even the minor ones, even if they're small, they all are changed by the events of these 3 days, not just our heroes.
Though I did like the line read on that, because in some ways he didn't change, because I feel like I knew the line was going to be said or something like, nah. But anyway, when I heard it, it was like sort of like, yeah, I was going to do that anyway. I was like, oh, you're still a jerk, aren't you?
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, no, and you just have, like you said, when everybody gets stuck in Batlotopia, USA, and they have to. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, it's very obvious it's a backlot, but that's okay. It's. And I think this is one of a handful of episodes where we don't go to DS9 at all.
It's true.
In these two episodes. I mean, besides Quark's phone a friend, but
Yeah, because there's again interesting use of balance, and it's fine. But where they like, guys, we gotta have some comic relief. We can't be serious the whole time. All right, let's have Miles and Kira just beam in time travel.
That's true. What do you guys think of the B plot? I mean, because it was there, and they kind of. I mean, I can see if you don't have that, it's literally like 3 of your characters are on a side quest and you don't see anybody else do anything for 2 episodes. Like, you just didn't do that in television.
It does take me out of it a little bit. And it's semi-amusing, but the episode's depressing, so I guess it's probably necessary.
I mean, it kind of also establishes the
gives
stakes
you a chance to...
because you see Starfleet is dissolved around them, so that it's like, oh, they messed it up.
Oh. So I just wanted to bring that up because when they realize that they're out of time, O'Brien says, "There's nothing. I can't see anybody on the comms from Starfleet. Utopia Planitia is gone from Mars, and." He says, the
Venus terraforming project.
The Venus terraforming project. I'm like, that's super cool. Yeah. Why did we never hear about the Venus terraforming project?
Look, all the press goes to the Mars Defense Perimeter and their memorial. But
not the money though. I can tell, or the resources.
Well, and that by this time, the Romulan Star Empire is at Alpha Centauri.
Oh yeah, that was a cool reference as well.
Well, and I'm also kind of wondering, like. I mean, they kind of ignore it, but are humans dead? Because, like, they don't talk about any sort of comm chatter. They only talk about there's no Starfleet signals and there's no satellite network. And I'm like, so how about the planet below you? Are there people on it? Are they back in this Bronze Age or something? Like, what happened? I mean, they just obviously don't have time to go into it, but.
Well, World War III, maybe they just never recovered and it was even worse or something. But I was thinking it's a throwaway line and it's fine. Where like they went to 2048 and Miles was like, "Ugh, that was I know it was bad, but that was really bad."
True.
I was like, "What did you see?"
Yeah,
like Mirror Universe stuff. Like what.
But that was a good way of showing again, like we don't have to beam back onto the same street corner, and see future guns or something, blasting people. But
skeleton robots.
I mean, I did, yeah,
with lasers.
Man, of all the times to pull out that future soldier from Encounter at Farpoint that Q shows up as, that would have been the time. And he's just like
Jim Mats.
Yeah, with
they
drugs.
Still had that in storage, I'm sure.
Oh man, but yeah, no, I like the little. I mean, they go to the '60s and then they transport in front of the hippies who are stoned and think it's far out, and then they go to the 20s, and Kira broke her nose.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's
fine.
Although I was surprised. I remember we brought this up once upon a time, but like, why didn't Odo go? Odo could turn into whoever he wants and like just be, infiltrate any location. Odo is like super spy man, but
it's only season 3. He's not that connected to him. So
I wouldn't have trusted Odo. Whatever. He only used 2 fingers to beam them out. It's a 3-finger panel, Odo, not 2.
There was only 2 people, so
that's true, but.
I was just thinking too about. I could see why some people might find this a little bit more preachy than normal because it's different if you're going to Omicron, Theta, Perseus.
Right. This is Earth in like 25 years.
But the future, it's not now.
Well, and that's another thing I wanted to bring up was.
It soon will be now.
The fact that it was written in 1995, and I think 40-ish years or whatever it was seemed enough. But now, obviously, since it's been a good chunk of time has passed, I wanted to talk about how
30 years. Again, there's like 29 years apart from when it was written to when it was set.
Right.
But still, that's not that long.
Right. And how it just seems like that they were looking ahead and seeing a lot of these problems, because even Sisko admits that these problems aren't just about the Sanctuary District. Like America's been grappling with them, he says, for the past 100 years or whatever.
And I like that when he says that, but he also, I mean, again, that the conversations with Bashir and even with the other protesters, like they all know, yes, this can push the needle, but things aren't going to be fixed tomorrow. Like no one has any disillusions that the sanctuary districts are going to close the next day, but they know that you can't just, if you just do nothing, then nothing's going to change.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's a point of the episode, and something that you can really go into is the whole sweeping it aside, helping and then disappearing. And so, like you said, the crime at the beginning is you can't sleep in the public street,
and then you can't have ID or not have ID,
which is, and then you automatically go with like there's no kind of appeal or no kind of anything else besides that. I think
apparently all cops do love shotguns because that's what everybody had.
Yeah, I did notice that. It's like, and I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. It just reminds me of a policy of some cities where all their benches have like the thing in the middle,
the divider,
so that homeless
the
people can't
armrest,
sleep on it. And I'm not saying good or bad. Good.
The anti-homeless architecture.
But I'm saying, but it's to get the homeless away so we don't see it. And then but it's sort of that harder thing of so out of sight, the problem doesn't exist, and so it's an exaggeration. Maybe it's not, of the swanky party and everyone talking about that they're rich, and then we go to Slumville.
Well, and that was interesting because I never noticed it in the swanky party. Like you're talking about this drilling platform or this or that, and I'm thinking like, or that money could be spent helping your society, but that's not what you're talking about.
And it's also that this. You're saying how the people in the sanctuary district, the workers and the people who were there, residents, know that nothing's going to happen overnight. But then it's like this thing that has existed for a while, you have to have this big event for it to be seen,
right?
Even though it was there the whole time. I see echoes of what we're doing today, these days. Something that's been there long, and the people have experienced it long, but it takes this big event for everyone to be like, oh, that is a thing, isn't it? And it's like, yes.
Well,
yes,
and not only an event, but an event that the information gets out, that they have the net connection, that they have the press coverage. I mean, we're seeing a lot of changes now because everybody has a video camera in their pocket. It's the ability to share and to get the word out, quote unquote, is very, that's the biggest change really in technology in the last 30 years.
Yeah, because I think about that it's one of those things where I don't think about it because I'm enjoying the episode, but of course you can't do that episode today because unless you confiscated every single person's phone, because the whole point of the episode is that we need to get this information out.
Oh, true.
The
fact that nobody
with a webcam
in 2024 has a phone. That's a good point. I mean, the commissioner did, but yours was like a flip phone, I noticed.
And that one internet access point is controlled by the government. No one else can upload to 4G.
Nobody smuggled a phone into the sanctuary district through the sewers.
No one's TikToking in this episode.
That's a good point. I mean, but that was just because the technology wasn't even there in the 90s to imagine it.
I don't know. I remember having a pretty sweet car phone in the 90s.
They don't have any cars in the sanctuary district, Daniel. Where are they going to put their car phones if they don't have cars?
So, with the problem here being economic, we obviously get that juxtaposition with the people in the high-rise tower, the rich people, talking about the issues in the sanctuary district. And, of course, you have the jerk face who just wants to just throw everybody in there and not ever think about it or talk about it. And there's different levels of things happening there, but I just think that it was smart of them to put Jadzia in that place, and we get to see like how
the other side lives
and how far their resources. Like that guy was able to get information out of the sanctuary district like instantly. He had the hookup. He could do anything he wanted to. And it took, obviously it took this extreme
pretty face
act to get the word out, but it's like those people,
they chose not to.
Could have helped at any time, but sometimes you just have to eat the rich. I think that's where this whole thing is going. So
well, and did you guys pick up? I didn't until looking it up, but that Jonathan Frakes directed the second half of this. This was back when they kind of randomly chose, or you got you got into the queue and then you didn't know which episode you were going to get. And so he got part 2 of Past Tense. And again, reading on Memory Alpha, that this is what kind of cemented him as the director for First Contact, that he had the directing chops to do that feature, which I'm very glad, because I think he did a good job with First Contact. Also a time travel episode. Just
time travel.
I was just going to bring up the time travel, and I wanted to see what you guys think. Is this a predestination paradox? Was it always Sisko that was Gabriel Bell, or
it seems that not only was it Sisko, but also Jadzia, because they had the internet connection problem, where it's like, well, according to history, they got on the internet.
Right.
Well, how do we do it? And then Jadzia...
Without Jadzia, they actually wouldn't have. Like, there's no way. That's a good point.
Gabriel Bell was some sort of...
Which is what Sisko talked about, but I don't get that impression that he knew the unlock codes or something.
Right, yeah. We don't know. But...
I did sort of have, like, you know, flashbacks to, like, you know, talking to my parents or something, where, like, Ben is talking to Julian, hit that again. That just takes you back to the...
Yeah, that's true. He's like, try that button. No, it just takes me back to the main screen. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's too real, guys. It's too real. And they're using like the little light pens to like use the interface. And
yeah, what do you think, Daniel? I mean, obviously we know what technology is now, but what do you think of that idea that we'd be all stylusing on all our internet devices?
Yeah.
No mobile devices. Everything's a hard terminal.
Though to be fair, Star Trek does have an Apple bias, so maybe it's, you know.
1995 is pretty early on in the internet boom.
I mean, this is really like the time when you're seeing the Voyager cast posing around with like, that's that picture where they're like next to the computer and like Neelix has Ethan Phillips has like a camcorder. It's so 90s, it hurts. But yeah.
Oh man, they just to date the episode, they probably had AOL chat room chats about this episode.
Probably.
So that's how far back it is.
Well, and again, just really well written. I mean, there's really no plot holes that I could see. Like the way they get their clothing, so they're not just walking around in Starfleet uniforms the entire time. Like the way, you know, they get introduced to the different characters. Like it's a really well written two-part. Like I'm glad it's a two-parter, because I cannot imagine like you wouldn't get anything nearly as deep. And you wouldn't connect with these other characters nearly as much if you didn't have 2 episodes.
Though, I bringing up the uniforms, and again, I do like that they do that.
You betrayed your uniform, Bashir.
I do want to go to, like, not really. I'd love to see, like, the deeper story on that. You know, hey, when do you go to your roof? You know, buzz off. Wait a minute. We can take their uniforms. They're really cool.
Yeah.
I bet you they smell really nice. Oh, wait, hold on. And then
I was thinking it was going to be some sort of doctor thing, but he never mentions he's a doctor, and then they just want their clothes, and it's like, okay.
And then in part 2, I just want to see one of the residents
in the background. Oh my gosh, that would be great.
For that, yeah, that would have been awesome.
It's just like one of the rioters is like in Sisko's uniform. Okay, one missed opportunity in this whole episode was to have that.
And then for the people who can't see, or no one can see the video of the podcast, Darren was going to Bashir's favorite sport there for a second.
Oh, yes. There's flies, and I'm trying to swat them. I have this special racket for my tennis elbow when I play, what is it called?
Racquetball? Oh, spring ball.
Spring ball. It's like space racquetball.
Right. But I was just thinking, sorry, this is totally random. So we already are out of the timeline because in the Star Trek timeline, the UK already have a baseball team because it's the London Kings. But then I thought about it. Shouldn't it be the London Queens? I mean, like...
Philip, we don't know what happens in the next 4 years.
Oh, you're right.
Well, okay. And wait, and then deep dive.
No, but because they said 2019. What they said? Buckaroo's rookie season was like 2015.
2015. They say it was 2015. Yeah. Well, and remember, Buckaroo, he's
from
Wishes Were Horses, that gem of an episode, you know. But
with the baseball, we get the baseball.
Yeah, we get the reference.
Where Sisko gets his baseball.
So yeah,
he's in other things too. That character.
I think. Maybe one other reference, but yeah.
No, because he's definitely in an episode where he's one of the prophets.
Oh, that's right. in what he
prophet
is a
way that they
prophet
talk.
at one of the time where they have the form of someone you know or know of. Yeah.
So the episode, not super positive, doesn't end on a real happy note, but it does end real abruptly. It's basically they get back to the Defiant, and you have the gee willikers, Captain. You know, how did it ever get so bad?
There's that, but there's also the moment where Bashir shows him the pad and is like, "Look, Captain, or look, Commander, this picture of Gabriel Bell sure looks a lot like you," and he's just like, "Crap."
And I do love the callback in like season 6 or something where Nog's like, "Hey Jake, have you ever noticed how Gabriel Bell looks a lot
That's
like?"
right, where he's studying. And then Jake's like, "Yeah, no."
No, it's the Ferengi episode where they go back in time because I think it's
it's somewhere, yeah. But I know it's a Ferengi that mentions it, but it's such a little nod, which is funny. Which again, predestination paradox.
Well, in one of their conversations as well, Bashir mentions the temporal
Prime directive.
And,
for like half a second at the very beginning.
Yeah.
But yeah,
but it's interesting just because they have,
and they try not to be involved. They do try.
Well, until they realize they have to be involved.
Yeah,
because it's like they stepped on the butterfly. Now they have to become the butterfly, and it's
that's
I
the
wonder
rule.
if there's like special rules for that. Like, do you think
that's true? The putting it back where you found it rule. If you break it, you buy it.
That's still breaking the rules. I'm sure you're still not supposed to do that, but
is it the I'm forgetting the term of it because the Doctor Who the 12th Doctor makes that reference.
The wibbly wobbly stuff, or
no, it's an actual theory of. But anyway, where like he says, like pretend you're Beethoven, your favorite Beethoven. You go back in time, you find out there is no Beethoven, so you decide that you have to be Beethoven, and so you use all of the stuff you have to make his music. So then the question is, where did that music come from?
Right, that's a predestination paradox. Yeah, that's the whole point. Is like
bootstrap paradox. That's
bootstrap. Okay.
Yeah. And it's, again, like, that's a good point. Like, is Gabriel... I mean, they do make it seem that there was a Gabriel Bell, but whether or not that Gabriel Bell would have done anything to do with the riots, it's really the only reason the name was used is because Sisko used it because he felt he had to, because he read about it in history. So, I mean, it's all there.
The one thing I would found odd at the end of the episode, because I almost felt like Weber ended up being the leader. Like, why isn't the Weber?
That's
riots?
true. Well, but Bell was the one who directly saved the guard's life. I mean, he took a bullet for him.
And he put Weber in charge of that message. Like, he was the one that decided to do that. So.
And again, that's also kind of how history is, where whatever name happens to catch in the public eye, it becomes the name, even if they weren't the guy. That's how it kind of goes.
I also do feel Bell would have been that person, only because the one act that we see him doing is intervening.
That's true.
In injustice that he sees, and then he dies for it. So really, he does. He ends up.
So you're thinking, but I mean, to Philip's question though, you're thinking that Bell is a real person, would have done the things that we expected him to do from history, or was Sisko always Bell?
I don't know.
I kind of feel like Sisko was always Bell, especially because of that internet thing with Jadzia, like full predestination paradox. But we'll never know. In our false future history we have to look forward to.
No, I feel like there should be a name for this. I mean, I feel Tom Parising, but that's a little retroactive. Of the anytime historical happens, you have the one person who's like, "Oh yeah, no, this time period's a bit of a hobby of mine."
Oh yeah,
let me tell you.
Like this specific. I mean, yeah, it's like, oh, I'm looking at the calendar, huh? This.
You can just never say like, "Oh, if I remember from my history class."
Yeah.
You don't have to be like where's
That's
this
true.
21st
That's
century.
True. Well,
I mean, baseball, I guess, makes you a historian if you're really.
I wonder if that's maybe part of why they put that in there, because maybe obviously that whole, it's like saying, you know, in 2020 there was no sports. You would know that if you were a sports fan. Although,
so I mean, Star Trek okay, so in the DS9 time, it's 2371. So he's remembering a day 347 years ago. So I mean, that's a lot.
It's because due to the Bell riots, the baseball season was called off for that year. So he remembers the reason that what his face for there's a gap in the World Series that he can name in order.
I'm sorry, Darren. Do you not remember July 4th, 1776, man?
No, not even 17. This
Freedom Day.
is 1673 would be for us remembering.
Hang on, let me remember that song about
granted
sailing the ocean blue.
Granted, I will remember. I do think that nowadays we record and store much more historical information than we did for us 300 years ago versus 300 plus remembering now. So I mean, there's that. But
they're going to be watching all those TikToks. I'm telling you guys.
It's how history is going to survive. But
because we don't write anything down, so paper will be gone.
Good point.
So I mean, this is obviously a real topical time based on the craziness of everything going on right now.
Past tense, more like now tense. Am I right?
You're not wrong.
Wait, is there a present tense episode of Star Trek?
There's a future tense. You're right.
There is a future tense, but is there a present tense?
Is there a conditional tense?
Seriously.
There's futures ends. There's futures end, and there's future tense. What was future tense? That was Enterprise, temporal Cold War stuff. It's like it's Daniel's pod episode.
Yes. No Spock shuttle.
So is there anything you guys wanted to mention in closing about this episode? It's real heavy, a lot going on, and real timely, but anything else that we didn't mention that you wanted to bring up?
I just kind of like what I said in the very beginning, where Star Trek is relevant even if we haven't gotten there yet. This obviously was relevant still in 1995, just not as much as it is now. So that's what I love about Star Trek, is it holds that mirror up in a sci-fi way through crazy chronoton particles to tell a story that makes you think. And in the end, that's what I love about Star Trek.
Yeah, because and this is a personal thing. I mean, this would be the name your top 20 DS9 episodes. This would be in there, but the ones where it's just let's fight the Dominion and pow pow pew pew. I mean, I don't remember those episodes. This is when I remember because there's an actual thing behind it.
Super episodic like this, very contained for Deep Space Nine. Even semi-early Deep Space Nine. No, there's not really any lingering elements or anything like that. It's not part of a major thread. It's just this is the story that they wanted to tell, and I think we're better off for it. I think showing this to people in present day, could be helpful. Could make people think about things maybe in a way they hadn't before. But go watch it. It's scary and maybe a little optimistic. Because eventually things get better. We don't get to see it, but we get to hear about it.
And again, if you're wanting to watch it, this is DS9 season 3 episodes 11 and 12.
So check it out. Check it out. And Darren, if people wanted to talk to you about what sanctuary district number you would be in.
They're numbered with letters, Daniel. So apparently, maybe D for Darren. I don't know. I don't want to be in a sanctuary district, Daniel. That'd be terrible. But
nobody wants to be.
They could find me on Twitter, Twitch, or Instagram under username Dr. Sci-Fi, DRSCIFI.
And Philip, if you can please give everybody your net username so they can find you as well.
Well, if they want to give me some love on Twitter, I'm at NC Public Servant.
And if they want to get a hold of me and tell me if they've seen my brooch, they can find me on Twitter at OneUpDan. That's the number 1, not the word. That's it for this week. We'll catch you guys all next week. I'm Daniel Prue.
I'm Philip Gilfus.
I'm Darren Moser.
Stranded here in Sanctuary District, SETI Alpha 3.